If you are not a member of House Bethal, you do not belong here. Another High Council lackey come begging? I told Lovick no more!
Forgive my brother. He has been forgetting his manners of late. Victor, this is Anaskel's chosen. You recall Lovick sent word.
I recall he spoke of a newly anointed promised. And we do not need help, especially from an outsider.
You can't continue to refuse the council. You must act. Your inaction is killing you.
Precisely, which is why he leaves me no choice but to say this. My nephew Varric has left, and until he returns, Victor refuses to assist the council.
These are hardly matters for the ears of an outsider. You have no idea what you speak of. You are an outsider. You have no understanding of our house.
Is this not the opportunity you've been looking for, brother? A third party capable of finding Varric?
Yes, you said so yourself. Someone with no loyalties to speak of. And if he's become promised, truly his arrival is more than coincidence.
Serpent, give me strength. You both speak true. Perhaps I have reacted in haste. Tell me, Harbinger, are you well practiced in discretion? I have heard reports on Ryujin from the Ministry of Conjunction. This news gives me hope. As Vittoria mentioned, my son, Varric, has left. Essentially, he has abandoned his post. And not only did he turn his back on his house, but the Great Serpent as well. He is a traitor and must be dealt with as such.
Victor, surely you don't mean it.
He does, Luther. He is allowing his fervent pride and anger to cloud his judgment. What my brother is trying to say is that he wishes his own son dead. First, we lose Vashti to that malignance tearing through Dazra. And now you so willingly offer up Varric. As if our house has not suffered enough loss already.
Because he let his weakness get the better of him. He sees himself as a prisoner in this life. He runs from a duty that others would spend their lives coveting. He is my son. He does not get to choose. He was born to inherit my title, and he knows the punishment for refusing to honor it. My son denounced the very faith that defines Varun's society. He dared to blame Anaskel for the state of Dazra. Dared to call our faith in the Great Serpent blind. It is heresy and punishable by death. Of course it would. As someone from the settled systems, you have no concept of what the Great Serpent demands of us. I do not wish Varric dead. But as head of the Ministry of State, he left me no choice. All must serve. Those who refuse will be met with death. Exceptions show weakness, and we cannot afford to show weakness at a time like this.
We have done the same for less. You act as if death is the only answer. What about forgiveness?
I will not risk the Ministry's authority on the actions of my own son, even if he is my chosen heir. If the High Council wants my cooperation, I need you to find Varric and carry out his sentence.
And I would ask you to spare him. My brother is acting under impulse, not reason.
I have never been more clear. Speak against me one more time, and you will regret it. Varric has a signet ring with House Vithal's family crest. Bring it to me as proof of death. Only then will I grant you access to the power grid. There is no other way. The Ministry of State must uphold order, and you will be expected to serve as we all do. I recommend you start by speaking to patrons of the Herald's Rest. Some of Varric's associates there may know where he went, but keep in mind, anyone who has directly aided him in hiding is an accomplice and shares his fate. See to it you do. All anyone needs to know is that you are looking for Varric for personal reasons. I will not risk word of his disappearance getting out before I can say the situation has been handled.
Remember, Harbinger, that I would ask you to spare my nephew. Vashti was my niece. Victor's daughter. Varric's sister. We lost her to the devastation that took half of our great city. Victor will barely speak of her. I think he cannot reconcile the loss with his faith. Until next time.
I, too, would ask you spare Varric. Victor is in no condition to be making such... You don't know. It was Varric. He never got to say goodbye. Our house was taken. Our losses are great. Excuse me. You could always tell his noble houses. The only lessons... Vashti, she and... I truly believe if... Serpent guide you.
Excellent work on this case. A good lead is like a puff of smoke. Remember, Chosen. None. But the faithful are promised tomorrow.
The serpent strikes down those who doubt.
Not looking for company right now.
The great serpent spirit.
Oh, what do you want? Can't you see I'm busy? Oh, you just revealed the question of the day. Where is Varric Vithal? The worst thing that can possibly happen, happens. And then he disappears. I mean, come on. We're supposed to be friends. That's what I thought. You'd think B would at least be commiserating with me. But I'm suddenly too drunk to deal with. Some friend she is. All she cares about is Varric. Huh? Oh, B's a friend. Or maybe was a friend. Yeah. Me, B, and Varric makes 3. Figured we were friends till the end. Oh, not you two. That's the last thing I need. I just want Varric to show up so things can get back to normal. Whatever that is. No, I can't. Tane! He mentioned talking to Tane one day about getting off-world, seeing the settled systems. We never thought he was serious, and even if he wasn't... Tane still might know something. Tane's a regular. I'm sure he'll be by any minute if you just want to take a seat.
Some cosa to lift your spirits? Can I get you anything?
Hope things start looking up soon around here. Hey, aren't you that outsider made promise that showed up here recently? You telling me they made you promise, and you aren't even a believer? The High Council must be really desperate for answers if they overlook that. I'm an outsider myself. It's hard to get into the whole giant snake thing. I guess when you're part of the supply chain, they make a few exceptions. There's not a lot of people in the import-export business when it comes to Dazra, and they aim to keep it that way. But believe me, it wasn't any short amount of time before they let me roam these streets. Tell me about it. I've been toting stuff back and forth for these people for years and still get the cold shoulder most places I go. But then these people lose half their city and you show up, and suddenly it's divine intervention. Well, glad Dazra didn't disappoint. Something tells me you aren't kidding. Anyway, enough about that. What can I do you for? That's so. Well, I guess that depends, Harbinger. Who wants to know? Oh, sure. You just show up out of the blue and suddenly want to know where to find House Vathal's #1 son? And I know he wasn't lost to whatever ate up half of Dazra. Plenty of people have seen him since. Although, let's just say after what went down here, my retirement's looking imminent, and I haven't exactly been saving up for a rainy day. So if you're feeling generous, maybe we can help each other out. Nice to see we operate on the same wavelength. I'm pretty sure he's heading into the Highlands. Just not sure where. But I do have the means to track him. So you just say the word and we're off to the races. You make it sound creepy. But yeah, for emergencies. Yep, when it comes to my stuff, it's like a package deal. I'm not just gonna hand off valuable tech to some stranger. After you. Once we're outside of Dazra, I'll fire up my tracker, and fingers crossed, it'll lead us right to him. Just head out the west gate, should be the fastest route.
If you ask me, we should be celebrating.
Many people
No one
say.
can doubt the Great Serpent's existence now.
There is no one I would rather see right. Come back to me soon, dearest.
Credit's running low. Ugh.
I don't
What
need
am I
any.
going to do?
What?
Seems we are clear. move on. If there's nothing worth taking.
I could have done without that. All my years and all the planets I've been on. Never gonna get used to those things. Terror, what? I think I'll pass. At least I don't see a body around here, so I hope that means Varric's alive. You find anything? Injured? Hope he doesn't bleed out by the time we find him. Well, what's next? Varric must have fled in a hurry since his tracker's still here. So guess the rest is up to us. Sounds like a plan. And hopefully that injury slows him down enough for us to catch up. Let's head back down and see what we can find. And by we, I mean you.
Look at this view. Despite everything, I cannot help but be moved by how beautiful my home can be.
Please do not frighten the brutes.
That's far enough, strangers. You want to tell me what you're doing on my property uninvited? Through here? You realize you're in the middle of nowhere. Of course, fellow promised. Please forgive my abruptness.
Yeah, you here obligated? You know it must be house business.
Indeed, brother. All must serve.
Irina, are you sure you know what you're doing?
Zen, yes, I know quite well. Never mind my partner, they're just overly cautious. But we did aid an injured young man a few days ago.
That's gotta be Varric.
It's too coincidental. It must have been him. We sent him north. There's a long-abandoned growth farm we felt he could make use of. He claimed he lost everything in the incident that swallowed half of Dazra. He wanted to start a new life. We even gave him 2 of our own growths to get started. You're welcome, and safe travels. If you find him, give him our regards.
Producing suitable fertilizer deployment protocol activated. Please vacate the area.
I imagine it was not part of your training as a miner.
Veric's been busy if he got this much done. Nothing going on out here. How about you? Find anything? Sounds like it's a waiting game then.
It seems I have uninvited guests. You want to explain yourselves?
Whoa, hey, it's me. Dang. Put the gun down already.
It's not you I'm concerned about. It's your friends.
Rightfully so.
I wish I could say I was pleased to meet you, but something tells me this isn't a social call. Please, if you're here on my father's orders, allow me to plead my case. I am not sure how familiar you are with our culture, but all I've ever wanted was the right to choose. I was born House Vithal. I was raised to inherit the role of Elder, to run the Ministry of State, to worship the Great Serpent. But I want none of it.
With House Vithal? Easier said than done.
This is true. House Vethal and the Ministry of State are known to be the most devout and punitive of the houses. It would not be easy to leave without extreme consequences, as you now know.
It's never mattered how much I tried to reason with him. My father simply would not let me go. His pride and the fear of what it would mean for House Vithal is all he cares about. You sound as if you speak from experience. I envy you. Sometimes I would give anything for a supportive word from my father. All I want is to make my own life. Something Tane understood and was willing to help me with.
The credits help too, but yeah, guess you got the whole scoop now. I realized I was going to help a friend. And yeah, I knew the risks. That's why we had the tracker. I needed Barrick to get far enough away from Dazra so I could safely pick him up and get him out of here. I like to call it looking out for a friend. I lost my ship to the incident, so I didn't want Barrick running off thinking I could just grab him and go. I was also out all the credits he was gonna pay me. That's where you came in. I figured, why not two for the price of one? I didn't realize it was gonna turn into a whole thing.
So, now you know my true intentions for leaving, and given the circumstances, I may be here for some time. My hope now is to make the best of it here. That was never my intention. But I know how it looks. The truth is, the Scaled Citadel was the last straw. My people are so blinded by faith and politics, they don't see how it's destroying us. Anasko Varun eliminated half our population in the blink of an eye. My sister Vashti among them. I could no longer live in a society that won't put its people first. That would destroy itself in the name of a god that has done nothing for us. Especially when that faith leads to hate. I hope you can see why I want to walk away from all this. to start my own life. I ask that you give me that chance. No, I can't go back. I want nothing to do with that life. After losing my sister and so many others, you may be right. You're right. It's something I've strongly considered. Sadly, you are right. It's not that I want to let anyone down. All right, I concede. I can see how I may have acted abruptly. Vashti's death. So much devastation. So much loss. But will my father even take me back? Let's just hope he still sees it that way. I'll need to make some preparations before I return. Gathering my things and making sure Bella and Boris are taken care of. I'll be along shortly.
Same here. I'm going to stick around and help Varric out. Besides, I don't think I want to be around when you report back to Victor. Do me a favor and find me later at the Herald's Rest.
Since the all must serve.
What news do you bring, Harbinger?
Serpent, be merciful. Tell me you spared my nephew.
Is this true? You allowed a traitor to live. You did what?
Victor, this is great news. Truly, the Great Serpent has guided him back to you.
Well, not exactly the Great Serpent, but I have returned nonetheless. Father, I admit I had no intention of coming back, but the Harbinger found me. He helped me see under a different light. Will you forgive me?
Victor, how dare you stall when your son has asked your forgiveness?
Could it be?
Father, I have returned out of love and support for you and House Vetal. I am ready to dedicate myself fully.
Do you have any idea the trauma you have caused me? The damage you could have wrought upon this house?
It was never my intention to harm you or this house. Losing Vashti. So much devastation. I feared we devoted ourselves blindly to a path that would lead to our end. I let my emotions get the best of me. I lost my way, but I have returned. Repentant and ready to serve.
You may have a point.
You know what he says is true. And it will ensure House Vethal's values remain intact when the time comes for Varric to assume the title of Elder.
So I stand corrected. Varric, I have always seen myself in you, son. Even the weaker emotional side. Much like your aunt does for me, I know Vashti did for you. She was your anchor. It should be no surprise how her death drove you away.
Thank you, Father. All I ask is for your understanding and forgiveness.
And you shall have it.
It's good to have you back with us, Varric.
Thank you. You put my son back on the right path and guided him home. You are quite right. Great Serpent knows I have room for improvement, and I can and will do better. Now that he has returned, Varric and I will use this moment to move forward. House politics vary drastically from the settled systems, but I understand your point.
And perhaps we could even learn by keeping those in mind.
Now, if you all will excuse us, there is something I wish to discuss with the Harbinger alone.
Come, Varric. Let us get you resettled.
Now that we have a bit more privacy, I wanted to discuss the matter of any traitors among us. Did you find anyone who aided my son in his treachery? Good. Unfortunately, I have heard ramblings among the people of Varric's disappearance. Wardens are dealing with the matter as we speak. But, while not the orders given, you restored this house and have my gratitude. Here, the access code that AORUS needs to connect to the power grid. Now go. Obviously, my son and I have much to discuss.
Serpent speed be with you, Harbinger. Did Victor finally relinquish the access code? Excellent. We'll finally have the resources to fully charge the morning device. Now give me a moment to set up the grid. Inputting the access code. Routing power. It is done. Harbinger, will you do us the honor?